Welcome to Strategic Business Reporting. This is just a short session to introduce you to the course, to consider the syllabus and the exam formats, and to give a quick overview of the key skills you will need to pass the SBR exam. To understand what is contained in this workbook and what is likely to be examined in SBR, we need to have a look at the syllabus. And the ACCA have provided an overall aim for the SBR syllabus. And in picking apart this aim, we can get into some of the detail and some of the focus of the SBR course. So looking at the aim then, it is to discuss, apply and evaluate the concepts, principles and practices that underpin the preparation and interpretation of corporate reports. So focusing first then on the concepts, principles and practices, that tells us that SBR is less about the doing or the preparing of calculations, accounting adjustments, financial statements, etc., and more about understanding why you are making those adjustments, being able to give advice around particular issues, thinking of the implications of an accounting treatment. We then think about the preparation and interpretation. Preparation could be of single entity financial statements, group financial statements, but we don't think you'll be preparing an entire financial statement. We think that you could be asked for specific extracts from the financial statements. And we know, and we'll see as we get further through this introduction, that Section A of the exam will require some preparation of group financial statements. On the interpretation side, that means we need to be able to read and understand the relevant information from financial statements. And relevant depends on what viewpoint you're taking. So we need to be very careful about identifying the stakeholders that are given to us in an exam scenario and thinking about the type of information that those stakeholders need from the financial statements and the wider annual report. The aim of the syllabus also calls out ethical assessment as being a key issue, and we will be placing emphasis in the SBR course on making sound judgments around financial reporting issues and other ethical issues, and we'll do so by reference to the ACCA Code of Ethics and Conduct. Having reviewed the aims of the syllabus, some of the terms that we see in the actual syllabus headings are consistent with what we just discussed. So the broad syllabus headings then, there are 6 of them in total, are looking at fundamental ethical and professional principles, financial reporting framework, which will be IFRS, for the SBR exam, reporting performance of a range of entities, financial statements of groups, interpreting for different stakeholders, and finally the impact of changes and potential changes in accounting regulation, requiring you to keep your accounting knowledge up to date. We're not going to go into the detail of the syllabus here, but you should have a look at that syllabus. That gives you more of a breakdown as to what would be expected under each of these syllabus headings. The BPP SBR workbook covers all of the syllabus learning outcomes. And what we have here, again, not going to go through the detail, is a mapping of the syllabus learning outcomes back to the chapters included within your workbook. So how will SBR be examined? It will be assessed by a 3-hour 15-minute exam. The pass mark for that exam is 50% and all questions in the exam are compulsory. There are 2 sections to the exam, Section A, which has got 2 questions, and Section B, which also has 2 questions. Looking at Section A first then, the 2 questions in Section A are both scenario-based, and in total they will come to 50 marks, and that includes 2 professional marks. So it's not necessarily the case that they will both be 25 marks. You could see a range in there as long as the total comes to 50. Question 1 is going to be based on the financial statements of group entities or extracts thereof. And as I said previously, we don't expect that you'll be preparing full group financial statements, but you will be expected to prepare relevant extracts from those group financial statements. Sitting alongside the group financial statement preparation is likely to be some other financial reporting issues, so getting into some of the detail of the accounting standards. It's not just going to be a numerical question. The numerical aspects of group accounting do have a maximum. And remember what we said when we looked at the overall aim of the syllabus, there's going to be more of a focus on being able to discuss and explain your approach, what is underpinned by accounting standards, what is underpinned by conceptual framework. So there's far more focus on the discussion and advice than the actual preparation of the relevant numbers and extracts. Question 2 in section A will look at reporting and ethical implications of a given scenario. So again, we'll be looking at some financial reporting issues, knowing your way around the accounting standards, but also being able to pick out where the ethical points are within a given scenario and applying your knowledge of the ACCA's fundamental principles and the threats to those principles in order to form a balanced ethics discussion. Professional marks will be awarded to the ethical issues question, and professional marks will be provided for things like identifying and addressing the relevant stakeholder points and tailoring your answer accordingly, using clear and concise language that has the appropriate tone and technical depth for the scenario that's been provided, writing in a clear and concise manner, using headings, bullet points where they're relevant, tables to summarise information where relevant, and also thinking about prioritisation of issues, grouping relevant issues together, discussing those that are most important either first or last to give them due emphasis. Section B also has 2 compulsory questions, but these will both be 25 marks. These could come from a range of different syllabus areas. They're going to have some numerical aspects to them, some discursive or explain aspects to them, and they could be scenario, case study or essay based. So a real mixed bag being brought into section 2. What we do know is that one of the questions will always include either a full or part question relating to the appraisal of financial or non-financial information from various stakeholders' perspectives. And appraisal of information is not just ratio analysis. We'll see as we work through this course that there's much wider analysis and interpretation needed in SBR. Your 2 professional marks are also allocated in section B, and these will be for the question that requires this analysis or interpretation. Passing SBR will not just be about reading and memorising the information in this workbook. What we're going to do as we go through the workbook is build up some essential skills that BPP believe that you will need in order to be successful in the SBR exam. Now, there's quite a lot of detail in the next few pages around these skills, and they're also referred to in various skills checkpoints, which come in at relevant points through the course. What I'll do is just give you a really quick summary of this diagram that we have in the middle here and just pull out some of the relevant points that you can then go and look at in more detail as we start to move through. So just to give you a very high level view of these then, in the middle we have specific strategic business reporting skills. So the first of these is approaching ethical issues. Remember we said that was one of the key aims of the syllabus. And this skill, as I've got here, is all about the identification and providing an appropriate response to financial reporting and ethical issues in a given scenario. The second SBR skill is on resolving financial reporting issues. And it will come as no surprise in SBR that you do need to know your accounting standards in detail, and you need to be able to identify appropriate accounting treatments by reference to IFRS and/or the conceptual framework, and you need to be able to advise on incorrect treatments that have been proposed by a finance director or reporting accountant. The third is on applying good consolidation techniques. We said that section A, question 1 of the exam, will include a group accounting issue, and this skill will focus on how to prepare the relevant extracts. The fourth is on performing financial analysis. So that is focusing on the analysis and interpretation of financial primarily, but also non-financial information for a wide range of stakeholders. Recalling that section B question, or one of the questions in section B of the exam, will require this analysis and interpretation. The final SBR specific skill is on creating effective discussion. This is focused on the fact that a number of your SBR requirements will be on discuss or explain issues rather than the preparation of accounting or financial statements. And it's about how to write persuasively when you are answering that type of question. We also have 6 exam success skills which sit alongside these specific SBR skills. The first of these is on managing information. And this skill focuses on how to handle the large volumes of information you're likely to see in SBR exams, particularly in the scenario or case study style questions. The second is on the correct interpretation of requirements. And that will focus on breaking requirements down into their component parts and really making sure that you are answering the question that has been asked and that you can address the relevant points when you're writing your solution. Third is on answer planning, and that will look at how you actively read information to gather relevant thoughts and start to put together a plan as to how you're going to address the requirements. The fourth is on efficient numerical analysis, and that will focus on how you can efficiently lay out your answers, showing relevant workings to try and make your thought process and your approach to a question clear to the examining team. The fifth exam success skill is around effective writing and presentation. And this one it's linked to the SBR skill of creating effective discussion, but we'll focus on clear writing, how to write concisely, make sure you've got consistent arguments running through your answers. The final exam success skill then is on good time management. And this is about planning your time up front in the exam and making sure you move through relevant sections to attempt all of the requirements. And as I said, that's a very brief overview of those SBR and exam success skills. There's some more detail on the following pages that you can read through, but we will refer back to these in the skills checkpoints, which you will meet through the SBR course. Just one final point is to emphasise the importance of question practice when you're preparing for the SBR exam. And you should use the questions to test your technical knowledge based on what you've just learned in the relevant chapter, but also to focus on improving your exam success skills. Particularly in relation to more discursive or narrative questions where the temptation is always to write sort of shorter bullet points or not write an extended answer. So just give due emphasis to both the calculations and the narrative questions when you are doing question practice.